Sailing is empowering. To fight against wind and water in order to make the boat follow your command is a feeling of accomplishment shared by all sailors. The Royal St. Lawrence Yacht Club is proud to host events in support of anyone who wants to experience that feeling.
So AQVA is a program for people mostly with physical disabilities that allows them to leave their wheelchair on the dock and go out sailing in a boat that's specially adapted to their needs.
Here's somewhere where you don't have to worry about access because everything's accessible to you.
Sailing a boat, and for somebody that's always in a wheelchair, imagine the power in between having, being bound in the wheelchair and leaving us on the dock and going sailing.
You're always identified by the wheelchair, but then when you get on the boat and you're away from it, it's, you're focused kind of on a new experience, on a new way of being.
The sense of freedom that you feel, it's really a way to keep healthy and positive.
I went through some difficulty when I was given a wheelchair, some depression. I didn't really want to go out and do things. I didn't want to wheel around in a wheelchair, but, joining the club and seeing others who are even, I'm in a wheelchair, but others who have less mobility and less use of their limbs, being so active, I get inspired. I suppose I inspire others as well.
One of the things for sure is self-esteem. Definitely the people like acquiring new skills. The other is breaking up social isolation. A lot of people can't find the right activity that they can get out to. They'd be staying on their couch or sitting in their wheelchair at home watching TV otherwise. So this gets them out in fresh air, doing something. But it's also the sailing, at least our AQVA, we're more than just sailing, we're also a community. So people find their friends here as well. They make new friends, they keep them. We have social events that they come to. And that's really important to them as well.
I did not consider me handicapped. I have limitations, but I'm not in a wheelchair like my friends from AQVA. I discovered that even if my friends are in wheelchair and have different stories, different disease, we all share an interest in sailing. We are competitive on water, but friends with beer after that.
The Sperry Topsider Challenge has been run out of the Royal St. Lawrence, I think, since the beginning to support the AQVA, which is a program that's run here at Point Claire for disabled sailors. And, they were looking for more coverage, more information to sailors, and Silvira has access to a lot of sailors in the region. So that was our contribution this year, to do promotion and just get the word out for people to come out and sail.
2 races take place during the Sperry Topsider Challenge. One that gathers boats from different yacht clubs in the region, and another one exclusively for AQVA sailors.
My name is Patrick Flaherty. I'm the co-organizer of the event with David Weisenthal. We sailors here at the club, when chatting with David, we came up with this idea, let's do a regatta where we asked the sailboat owners to register their boat and do so by registering a donation to the AQVA. This is our 3rd year, and this year we have the 30 boats on the line. And for sailboat races nowadays, that's huge.
To coach people with disability, you really need to be very open. You need to be very open that maybe the person can or cannot do something despite what you think of the person when you see them. A lot of people you'll see, oh, well, you can move your hands, so you'll assume that they can do things, but in reality it may not be the case. Also, you really need to pay attention to the person all the time. There's a lot of people who are deaf, people who can't talk, people who can't hear. So you really have to pay attention to the person and make sure that they're okay and that they're okay with, are they sailing in heavy winds and light winds? Some people are not able to be out in heat or in extreme cold. So you really have to be a lot more attentive, whereas in regular sailing, it's not exactly the case.
The boat was designed by somebody named Don Martin, who was a very well-known boat builder in British Columbia. There was a similar boat had been designed in England. He saw the boat and he thought to himself, I can do better than that. So he worked with a quadriplegic in Vancouver on coming up with a design and started producing the first Martin 16. So like I said, it's a Canadian design. And it's the only boat really built specifically for people with mobility impairments. So what's different about it is that even though it's only 16 feet long, most 16-foot long boats are little dinghies that will tip over or can sink, fill up with water and sink. But this boat has been designed with, there's 330 pounds of lead at the bottom of its centerboard. So it becomes a keel boat, and which means it's a counterweight, so the boat, doesn't matter how hard the wind's blowing, the boat can't tip over. And it's also full of flotation, so if waves come on over the side and it fills up with water, it can't sink. So it's very safe, first of all, which is important to a lot of people.
We went out this one time, and there's a lot of waves, and the boat was a bit heavy, and the water just kept on coming in and kept on coming in until the whole cockpit was filled. Now, the boat's got a positive buoyancy, so it's not going to sink. And so what ended up happening would be that I kept on moving forward very slowly because the boat is full of water, but my legs would start floating. So then trying to stay straight or whatever, as your body's starting to float in there, and especially with the life jacket. So you're floating on your back, and anyway, they kind of had to tow me back in or whatever, but it was one of those experiences that you're like, oh, the boat really can't sink.
Usually on a small boat like that, you always have to move around on it to keep the boat balanced. Whereas in this case, the boat's been set up so that the skipper, the person driving the boat, if you like, is sitting always centrally located in the bottom of the boat. So the center of gravity is low, making it more stable and making it so they don't need to move around. Then the next feature is that the tiller, which is what you control your direction with, comes right up between the person's legs. So they can just sit there, have it right there. And then the two ropes that are used to control the lines for the two sails are placed just above it. And once again, so you're sitting there and you can just pull on the lines and everything is right there. So basically, you don't need legs, okay? I've actually been to competitions where I've seen amputees leave their legs, their artificial legs on the dock and jump in the boat and go sailing because they don't need their legs.
For me, it's easy because I have some use of my right hand and all the use of the left hand. So basically, I can steer with my hands and I can control the sheets with my hands. They use a strap and they put me into the boat. And once I'm in the boat, it's pretty easy for me.
The other thing that's wonderful about the boat is that some people can have weakness in their arms and find that doing that is just a little bit too tiring for them. That happens a lot with people with MS, for example. So there's a power assist system that's available for the boat as an option that gets put on, and it's just a box with a joystick in it, just like you would see on a power wheelchair joystick. And that's connected to a piston that's going to control the direction and to something called a windlass that the lines are wrapped around, and that brings the sheets in and out.
When I push forward, it sheets out, the sails sheet out. so they open up. And when I pull back, they come in. And when I go left or right or whatever controls the rudder, so because I can't, handle the sheets like everybody else, that actually helps me to control the boat completely.
Then the most amazing thing of all is if people have no use of their arms at all, they can still go sailing on their own, because there's a system called sip and puff.
I have 2 straws, one for the sails and one for the rudder. When I sip, I can bring my sails in so that I can go upwind. And when I puff, then I can bring my sails out and I can go downwind. With the other straw, I'm able to use the rudder, going one side, one way, going the other way.
In fact, you don't even need to be able to breathe on your own to sail the boat. We've had people on respirators go out and not just sail sip and puff, but race with sip and puff.
People who do have special equipment, we usually have someone that's on the boat with them. They are not permitted to give them any advice on any tactics or anything like that. But in the case of people who cannot move their heads to look back, they might advise them what's coming up behind. So the principal thing is safety of the boat and the safety of everybody around you.
I used to sail alone, but I don't anymore. Because over the time, I learned that other sailors had other gears, other fine-tuning that they could do. So now I have a sailing companion, and I tell him what I want. I tell him to pull one of the sheets, and I would tell him to pull the Cunningham, pull the boom vang, so that I can go faster upwind, and release the boom vang if I want to go faster downwind, and I can also control the jib.
The boat was built in BC, and then eventually somebody from Calgary took over, and for many years it was being built in Sarnia, Ontario. And in 2006, the factory burned down, and the molds to build the boat were destroyed. The boat went out of production. Everybody was thinking, well, this is the death of the Martin 16, what are we going to do? But the Disabled Sailing Association of British Columbia actually owns the rights to the boat. They were given to them by Don Martin, the designer. So they got a donation to build new molds, and they tried to find a builder and try to get it going, and it wasn't really taking off, and somebody else tried it and was running into some issues. So in 2012, a friend of mine, who is a volunteer with the Disabled Sailing Program in Toronto, started talking, and she knew a boat builder here in Quebec, and the two of us said, let's do it. So since April 2013, we started our company, and we're now building the Martin 16 in Quebec.
When we were working on this, some of my friends, powerboaters, heard me talking about it. And they said, well, why can't we get involved? So they came up with the idea of they would take the public out, or individuals, who would individually make a donation to the AQVA, and then they would offer their boat and their gas and offer them some wine and munchies and this kind of stuff, which they do, and take them out. So even that's astounding, because in a yacht club like this, there's two worlds. There's the sailing world and the powerboat world. And we get along, but not always that well. It's a whole different outlook on life.
The powerboats are only here in support of the guys with sails. It doesn't happen often, it's a good thing, but the people who are on this boat and the boats around us all made a donation, and with the donation came the right to come on a cruise around Lac Saint-Louis. I got interested in this event because I met one of these sailors, these disabled sailors. And he looked at me and he said, I only have one little brief moment in time every year where I'm absolutely free. Ever since a skiing accident he had, he said, you know, I get in one of these boats, I can compete against people like you who are able-bodied. He said, I'm free. No other time I'm free. And I thought, wow, that's something. And I don't mind doing things to help them. That's great.
My husband is part of the AQVA. He sails with the AQVA. He's also on the executive committee. So he was sailing and part of all the events, and I decided that since he's there, I might as well volunteer. So I do what I can, and I participate wherever they need help. I'm not sure how much funding they get. They get from various sources, but not a lot.
Way to go, top.
Premier place, mon ami.
We're all volunteers. We all work hard, and we need funding. Every year we're struggling for funding and constantly doing events and asking for donations.
Et finalement, après, à France, Jean-François Grandin.
It costs a lot of money to run the program, and at the same time, we also make sure to keep it at very low cost for our sailors. So the cost is $15 for 1 hour and a half of sails. So they're able, you know, no matter the cost is, you know, they have the choice to go to a movie or to come sailing. Thank you so much. Mrs. Ye, I'm really moved by your speech and what it relates to. And I'm very, very moved by, very thrilled that this trophy is allowed, well, to me, but I'm taking it for all of us in AQVA that are working so hard. All the administration, including myself, is done voluntarily. We're all, you know, people that are completely devoted to the cause. All the money that's being raised, whatever, like an event like today, is going straight into our program, our sailing program, Get New Boats. So we eventually will need to grow into something permanent with some paid people that will work all year, like I do.
The AQVA has logged thousands of sailing hours. Their commitments, perseverance, and dedication to making sailing accessible for their members is unmatched. A community's worth is found in how its members treat one another. Collaborations like the Sperry Topsider Challenge and the passionate people that run them is what makes our community worth living in. The Royal St. Lawrence Yacht Club and the AQVA make our local sailing community very proud. If you would like to support the AQVA, visit their website at aqvaqc.com. This program is dedicated to the memory of Ian Bruce, honorary life member of the Royal St. Lawrence Yacht Club. An officer of the Order of Canada and two-time sailing Olympian, Ian was best known at home and abroad as the father of the Laser, the most popular sailboat the world has ever known. Ian Bruce was more than a remarkable sailor. He was a remarkable human being and a noteworthy contributor to the sport of sailing for more than 60 years in Montreal, throughout Quebec, across Canada, and around the world.